guests. All right, so once the number of guests flattens out, we'll open the meeting.
Dave, why do we have the IU now hosting the meetings?
That was discussed a while back.
With who?
The board.
You're freezing, Dave.
I think it was the rebroadcasting concerns, right?
Yeah, it had to do with that whole item of liability, putting a liability on our employees that didn't want to put on them.
Yeah, but I don't remember ever having a vote to send it to the IU.
Well, it's a professional service we're getting from them.
Yeah, but it's also an expenditure.
It looks like it's stalled around 50 guests. So with that, we'll move to opening the meeting. And good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Montoursville Area School District Board of Directors on this Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. The time is 7:10 p.m. And at this time, I'll ask the board secretary to take a roll.
Oh, is she not here? She's at a conference.
That is correct. You're right. She is at a conference. That being the case, then let me get my pen out and actually, Dr. Mathers, could I ask you to do a little recording for us? And I'll be also making note of votes as well. Of course, we have the video for.
Yeah, I think Brandy said when we were in there for Brandy said she could do the minutes off the recording.
Okay. All right, then. Yeah. That being the case, I guess I'll walk through the roll call. Dr. Mathers.
Present.
Mr. Ulmer.
Present.
Mrs. Marriott.
Here.
Mr. Snell.
There.
Dr. Berry.
Here.
Mr. Ruffing.
Here.
Mr. Conkle.
Here.
And Board President Dave Schimmel here, and Danny Albert. I anticipate Danny's arrival, but we'll see him when he gets here. That moving into the second item, I don't believe tonight we have that video of the kids doing the salute to the flag. So we'll move on to recognitions and presentations. And administration, is there any recognitions or presentations that are maybe noteworthy, or do you want to do that during administrative reports? Anything for us? Okay, I'm not seeing any shaking of the head, so good. All right. With that, student representative, do you have something for us?
I have a lot for you tonight.
All right.
So later this week, the Montoursville team will be in Massachusetts, attending a Harvard seminar this weekend. spanning from the 14th until the 18th. The marching band, the Warrior Marching Band, was recently at the Lycoming County Band Directors Association Band Exhibition, and they will also be marching in the Mummers Day Parade this Saturday. Theater Arts Club is doing Clue on stage. It is based on the movie, and I do not have the dates for you at this moment, but I will update you on the dates next meeting. Improv Troupe will be having a show October 26th, 27th, or 28th. The date is not decided yet. Academic Decathlon will be competing in, I believe, Carlisle on November 9th. Recently, we had homecoming this recent Friday against Mifflinburg, and Sarah O'Brien was given the title of Homecoming Princess, and Alexis Hartland was given the title of Homecoming Queen. And the dance was held on the 10th. Key Club has been exchanging Warrior Pals back and forth with elementary schoolers. And the Flaming Foliage representative, I believe I'm saying that right, is Leah Worthington. And there are PSATs tomorrow for grades 9, 10, and 11.
Thank you, Zachary. Appreciate that. And with that, we'll move on now to the, and now I see Mr. Albert is attempting to log in. And Danny, we all have our cameras on tonight. So as soon as you can get that camera lit up, please join us visually. And we have the next item is the reading of the minutes, asking for approval for the regular meeting from September 14 and the work session for September 28th. And board, is there any corrections or that you noted might be needed on those minutes? They look okay to you. That being the case, I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, next item is the prior presentation. This is the 5-minute per person presentation, and the agenda has Pastor Matthew Wagner from Twin Hills Church of the Nazarene listed, and I don't know if the pastor is in the attendee list. Pastor, if you want to raise your hand. All right, Jason, you see Matthew Wagner there. If you would let Matthew Wagner speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, hey, everybody. As he have said, I'm Pastor Matthew Wagner. I'm the vision pastor here at Twin Hills Church of the Nazarene, 578 Cemetery Road up here in Old Fairfield. And it's really a great pleasure to be with you all. And I appreciate the opportunity to come and to pray. And you might not be able to see my smiling face, but I'm beaming ear to ear. And I get to see all y'all smiling faces. And it really is a wonderful thing to see that. I got 3 words on my heart this morning, or not this morning, but tonight. And it's return the gift. The Lord's been really reaching out to me and talking to me about generosity and being grateful. And the challenge of that, the challenge of generosity and gratefulness is really to love one another and to pour out to one another. And when we do that, our attitude changes. Our attitude turns from really grasping to being more selfish, to be more giving to others. And that's what I'm praying for. That's the focus of today's prayer, as I'm praying that we become a community who's focused on more of giving than we are of trying to grasp and receive. So if you don't mind with me, would you pray with me? Let's pray. And Heavenly Father, we come to you before your throne of mercy and grace tonight. And we thank you. We thank you for the opportunity to be generous. We thank you for the opportunity to show gratitude. And I'm personally glad that you, Jesus, was so generous and grateful enough that you went to the cross. And I'm glad that you chose to be a grape and not a marble in that Garden of Gethsemane, that place of pressing. Lord, you came to that place with a perfect prayer to your Father, not my will, but yours be done. And I'm so glad that you obeyed that. I'm glad that you obeyed the will of your parents, the Father in heaven, and your earthly mother, Mary. And in Galilee, you obeyed your mother's will and made wine for the wedding guest. And before the Garden of agony, you humbled yourself and washed the smelly feet of fishermen. Oh, Lord, it doesn't get any more generous than that. So, Lord, lead us tonight to be generous in our service to others and our talk with others. And you proved that night in the garden that relationships should be at the forefront, that relationships rule by placing your life before the Father, and you gave it as an offering for us. And you, above all, have shown us great generosity and gratitude. So, Lord, I pray tonight that we, as your people of this community, will realize what great love is and what great love you have for us. Lord, you reminded my heart so many times today and this week, you can't spell community without unity. And I pray for unity to be our goal. But also you showed us when we are facing each other, even in disagreements, you've taught us how to treat one another. Because I believe there is no love in our heart if we can not speak to one another in compassion. What's the point of winning an argument if we have no compassion for our brothers and our sisters? So I pray, lead us, Lord, in being compassionate for one another. And teach us, Lord, that there is no victory in winning unless we have that compassion. Lord, I pray, help us be generous. Show us to be grateful. Yes, Jesus, your name is faithful. And so that makes my name grateful. You are faithful and true, and I am truly grateful for you. And for those who are here at the school board meeting tonight, we love you. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Appreciate you guys. You guys have a great night.
Thank you, Pastor. Okay, at this time then, we'll move on to the public comment section of the meeting. And the public is invited to offer comment on residents and taxpayers of the district, or invited to offer comment on matters of concern or official action, any matters of deliberation that are before the board tonight. And members of the public are provided one unpaused 3-minute time frame to speak. So with that, I'll invite the attendees, if you would like to speak, to go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll begin to let folks in to speak. Jason, if you want to go ahead and let the first speaker in.
Catherine Burns.
You're on, go ahead.
The first comment I would like to make is that surrounding school districts have gone mask optional, and COVID cases have dropped or remained stable. And I'm asking you again to consider what you're doing to our students by requiring them to wear masks. I do believe it is a form of abuse. I believe it needs to be rethought. I believe you're harming the students physically and mentally, and I believe it should be rethought. Second of all, as you all know, I'm sure, Attorney General Merrick Garland, has encouraged school boards to sic the FBI on vocal parents. Now, his daughter's husband, his son-in-law, is a co-founder of a company that works with school boards to promote culturally responsive training, better known as CRT. I'm thinking that Merrick Garland has a special interest in shutting the mouths of parents who care about their students and what they're being taught. What better way to get CRT into a school but to threaten vocal parents? Be assured, each one of you, there is not one of you sitting on that board tonight that the public that you think is against you would not defend or help if you were in a bad situation. You've got more friends in the community than what you think. I only ask you to look back at the community that's asking you to look over our children's health and mental stability by what you're doing with these masks. I will tell you that Mr. Ruffing, Ms. Marriott, Ms. Mathers, and Mr. Conkle know how to instill fear into someone by what they did in 2016. That's instilling fear. There's no fear that you folks need to feel from the parents, grandparents, and caregivers in this community. We care about our kids. Our fear is losing our children, their education, and their minds. The only thing that you folks have to fear is the loss of your position by vote or emptying the school to private schools, charter schools, or homeschooling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
You're good. Go ahead.
A second.
You're okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So the majority of the public that I hear voicing their concerns at school board meetings.
Do you want to identify yourself?
Sure. Do I have a choice?
Sure.
I do have a choice to not give my address or my name.
Well, if you don't want to be fair about it, our policy says you should give us your name and your address. And I have the option of muting a speaker who won't play fair with us. So
Okay, well, let me bring something up. There were people that didn't play fair. So the thing last time was, if you just say you're scared, then you don't have to say what you think playing fair is. So I'll play fair, but I just want you to realize, is it really fair if playing fair isn't saying your name? So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, because I could easily say I'm scared and then you guys bend over backwards and keep everything Zoom like you did for the other people. So I just wanted to make that clear. This is Brenda Oberheim, 192 Woodland Court. The majority of the public that I hear voicing their concerns of a school board meeting are not at all pleased with the communication from Mrs. Basin. During the long meeting in September, many parents asked for her resignation. It is not a coincidence that so many parents reached the same conclusion. Mrs. Basin's communication is either short and belittling or non-existent. Now that she has created pretty much a war with the Montoursville community because of her communication and or lack of communication, we are supposed to run out and hire her someone to cover her tracks. And only six figures will get this done. A better solution would be to fire, one second, Mrs. Basin, and find someone who preferably lives in the area and cares about the people of the community. This doesn't mean that there couldn't be disagreements on issues, but where communication is not of the utmost importance. If you are a horrible communicator, maybe you should find one of the few jobs where you can hide from the public. Hiring someone for over $100,000 of taxpayer expense to do the part of your job that you either don't want to do or just are not good at is unacceptable. If Mrs. Basin can't communicate like an adult in a public position, then maybe she should move on and find another job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
You're on, Corey.
Thank you. Good evening. I wanted to comment on agenda item G-1 related to the law firm that is going to represent the defendants in the ongoing lawsuit. As a taxpayer, it is alarming.
Corey, would you identify
I'm
yourself?
sorry. Yep. Corey Flick, 315 Cypress Street in the borough.
Thank you.
I wanted to comment on agenda item G-1. As a taxpayer, it is alarming to know that due to an ongoing and wholly frivolous lawsuit brought against the board and the superintendent for adhering to the Department of Health mask mandate, our money is now being spent on legal fees. However, as unfortunate as the situation is, I hope the lawyers representing the board and Superintendent Basin provide them with nothing short of the most zealous defense. The blame for the unnecessary waste of our tax dollars lies with the following plaintiffs: Mark and Brenda Oberheim, Jessica and Erica Steinbacher, Jason and Brittany Little, Corey and Kara Smith, Mark and Rachel Britt, Chasney and Curtis Twig, Galahad and Christy Mallory, and Brenda and Greg Stapp. Let me be crystal clear as to why the aforementioned plaintiffs are to blame for the wasting of our tax dollars. To do so, I'd like to highlight some of the conclusions reached by Republican Judge Brand, published in his September 30th opinion. Judge Brand writes, quote, "The court finds that the mask mandate is rationally related to the legitimate interest in reducing the spread of COVID-19. Judge Brand goes on to write, the plaintiffs believe that they have a right to determine whether, in the midst of a pandemic, their children wear masks in school. They are wrong. The General Assembly specifically delegated the responsibility for disease control in public and private schools to the Department of Health. Plaintiffs allegedly were harmed and continue to be harmed by the mask mandate, including exposure to present and existential threats to health and safety, increased risks of serious bodily injury and or death. These alleged harms have no basis in fact." I would like to repeat Judge Brand's conclusion. These alleged harms have no basis in fact. End quote. Despite their endless hubris, none of the plaintiffs possess the requisite knowledge or skills regarding how to best fight COVID-19. I would hope that the aforementioned plaintiffs would drop their frivolous lawsuit in an effort to help save the taxpayers' money and allow the board and Superintendent Basin to remain focused on what they are there to do, and that's educate our students. So, thank you.
Thank you. Your mic's open, Dan.
Hi there. I wasn't sure. I just got in a thing saying that I was muted, but all good. Anyways, what I'd like to spend this moment on is talking about the proposed assistant superintendent position that you guys will be voting on tonight. I have emailed the board, everyone on there, about my thoughts on this, and I do appreciate Dottie and Susan getting back to me with their thoughts. So for the community purpose, what I want to do.
Dan, would you identify yourself? Sorry.
Can you hear me? Dan
Yeah, I can hear you.
Acello.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, my name is Dan Acello on Weldon Street. Also, whenever anyone's talking, their names do come up on our screens. So there's that identification marker also, so everyone knows who's talking at the moment in addition, unless they have some, like they're using a different computer or something like that or whatnot. But anyways, I would like to recommend that we move the assistant superintendent name off of the proposed position. Couple thoughts here. Curriculum supervisor with federal grants and program coordinator. One, if we do this, we will be able to eliminate the requirement that the candidate for the position does not need the superintendent's letter of eligibility. In turn, that can become an administrative cost value. Instead of the $100,000 mark, we'll be looking at a 3-year administrator mark, which in turn can save thousands of dollars. Now, I'm not looking to move tasks or what each person has to do, but what I would like to state is that I know there's a lot of grants and programming that are being written for by administrators, principals, and by the superintendent, Ms. Basin. If this curriculum supervisor director, I don't care about that part of the name, has that federal programs and grants attached to their name, they can then take that out of that wheelhouse so that Ms. Basin doesn't have to worry about writing grants. Principals don't have to worry about writing grants. That can be the part of the focus of this job being added into, in turn alleviating Ms. Basin of grant writing duties to where this other person would be able to fulfill that position. In addition to all of this, this person would be able to also help with classroom observations and teacher evaluations. Teacher evaluations have changed this year. I believe it's under Act 13. There's different observation methods and criteria and framework that teachers will be evaluated on. So this would be a nice segue to help out building administrators who are swamped with contact tracing, because I know your day is spent a good chunk contact tracing instead of doing your job as a principal. I get it. It's not an easy situation. In addition to alleviating some of that pressure on the principals, it will allow them to focus on other aspects of their job as a principal and not worry about the grants. The curriculum supervisor, grant coordinator will better help to coordinate things across the entire district level. I would ask that this motion, I know my time's up and I'm just afraid there might not be a second chance, but just if I can have 20 seconds, that'd be awesome.
Well, you did help with a little bit of explanation there at the beginning, Dan. So go ahead, finish up. And we do have a second comment period later on.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, at
Right
the end
on.
of the meeting.
Well, then
at
I
the
will
end of the
hold my
meeting.
comments until the second comment section, but I do hope this does get tabled. I think we can look at some other options as far as creativity and communication structures, which I'd love to get into in the second part. That'll take another 2 or 3 minutes as far as communication structures throughout the district and building up from teachers all the way up through superintendents and how that would look to alleviate any kind of discrepancies on communication and make a clear path forward to making sure the community is completely informed. Thank
Right,
you.
Dan.
Sorry
Thank
for the rush.
No problem. Thank you.
And the dogs. And the
Hello?
Yes.
Hello. This is Carol Johnson. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Schimmel. Okay, Carol Johnson, 148 Hampton Way. I would like to speak tonight and ask the board, although I know you don't get answers back, I would like to ask the board to reconsider moving to in-person meetings. I don't know a ton about legal law and all. I hear that there's a sunshine law that says that the organization should have it in-person meetings. So I'm just asking you to reconsider and ask you what pointers you will use to maybe reestablish in-person meetings. I understand the reasons why. I've heard the reasons why. I want to say I'm not sure I understand them, why they reverted and changed back to Zoom meetings. But I want a little background on myself. That relates to Merrick Garland and the National School Boards Association letter to Merrick Garland and the America First legal action, that letter back to the administration about Merrick Garland's actions. But I get to that. I'm not going to elaborate about that. What I'm going to say to you is this. I find that the meetings that I've been to, not just at Montoursville High School, I have not met up nor have seen anybody be violent at any meetings. Yes, people are passionate about their children. Yes, they're loud. Yes, they're probably disruptive at times, and I can understand they should not be that. We should follow decorum, generally speaking. But I have been a critical care nurse, had been for quite a long time. So I do not consider myself a domestic terrorist. I've been in critical care for 35 years. I know a couple members on the board. I'm pretty sure you would all say I'm not. I think I'm representative of most people. So I'm asking you as a board to perhaps reconsider and go back to in-person meetings. And I surely hope that Montoursville area or the areas around do not find that any of the residents are domestic terrorists, nor should they be charged with or arrested for such a thing. I hope that is not a thought getting instilled into your minds and the board or other people's in the area. I do appreciate the time. I hope you can hear me. Did you?
Yes, yes.
I'm not much into this Zoom stuff yet. So, all right. Thanks. Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you, Carol. Winifred, your mic is open, so tell us who you are, where you live.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Winifred Chrisman, Chapel Mountain Road, and I just want to say that parents should have the right for medical decisions for their children. So I don't know how many times that can be said. I don't know how many times it can be said how disappointed parents are in the superintendent and ask for her resignation. Just wanted to say that again. But I do want to ask, are you screening people for who can speak in this call? I'm requesting an answer.
Not sure what you mean, ma'am.
I have heard that several parents are not able to raise their hand and speak.
That's a technical glitch then.
What can we do for the parents who do not have the ability to raise their hand and speak in this public comment period? What is their avenue for them to speak if it's a technical glitch? Should they email someone directly and confirm it's a technical glitch?
That you know what, my email is open. They could do that.
Okay, so for the parents out there that are not able to raise their hand, email and let's figure out how to get their ability to speak.
Okay.
And also, I would encourage anyone who is disappointed with this school to know that homeschooling is a beautiful thing and children can flourish in that environment. That's all.
I don't know. Hello?
Yes, Mrs. Wright, your mic's open.
All right, thank you so much. So my name is Amanda Wright. I live on Quaker State Road in Montoursville. I'm not gonna go about the whole mask thing. I've said my piece. I've said my piece about resignations. The only thing that I guess I have to say tonight is the kids that are having to be in quarantine. I know, especially with the middle school, Mr. Myers has had great communication with parents, especially myself, as far as kids that have to be in quarantine due to contact tracing, and being told that teachers should be doing live meetings or Zoom meetings with live lessons in order to get these kids through, to get the homework done. These teachers are not doing live lessons. Reaching out to teachers personally, I have messages on Class Dojo from my fifth graders teachers stating, we don't think there's any point in doing a live lesson. And then having to sit there and try to figure out how to teach her to do the schoolwork the way the school wants it done rather than the way I would do it when I was educated and went to college is completely different than the way it's taught in schools now. I think the teachers, I think the board, I think Christina Basin, I think the parents, somebody needs to put something together so the teachers understand that kids are being quarantined and parents don't always have the time, let alone understand some of this stuff ourselves in order to teach our children so that they don't fall behind or start failing classes or failing homeworks, especially when they strive in school. When I have an ELE teacher message me and say, Peyton is doing wonderful, she's doing the Zoom meetings, and then I have a social studies teacher or a math teacher stating, you know, she was doing so good in school, what's going on now? You're not offering live lessons. You're not teaching these kids these classes during class times. You speak to Mr. Myers and he says, yep, they're supposed to have live lessons. They're supposed to, you know, especially with their core classes, follow the same schedule like they would in school, make sure they're clicking on those Zoom meetings. But when there's no Zoom meetings to help these kids, what else are we left to do? My child had to quarantine because of a close contact at school and then quarantine because of a positive case in the house and was out of school for 20 days. We couldn't get any help. She was so far behind in some of her classes. I took it upon myself. My daughter's now doing charter school. I still have other children in the school district because they have to be in school. Their classes are very hands-on. But how can we go about making sure that the rest of these kids and my other children are getting the help that they need from these teachers if they're not willing to put the stuff up on Google Classroom or do a live meeting? Or you have hands-on STEM classes with projects and you're supposed to have a partner, but you're in quarantine, so you can't do it. And then you're not being exempt from it. That's not fair to the students that have to quarantine because of close contacts. So I'm just asking for the school board, the teachers, the principals, someone to help figure out a better way for these kids, especially if they have quarantine.
Thank you. No, we hear you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the first round of public comment now is closed, and there will be another round of public comment just after the board gives the committee reports. So with that, we'll move now on to the business manager's report, and she isn't here tonight, and so I guess I'll muddle my way through this. She's provided the general fund and cafeteria treasurer's report, and so at this time, if you've got a chance to review it, if there's any we'll ask for I guess a motion to approve both those reports.
Move to approve.
Second.
there's questions, I recommend asking the business manager by email. I'm certainly not going to be able, I don't think, to answer those. So is there any comments or anything though? Okay, in that case, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. I don't believe there's any budgetary transfers. Do you concur, board? I looked through, but I did not see any budgetary transfers. Okay. All right. And with that, we'll go next to the presentation of the bills, which is a roll call, and ask for a motion to pay the bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions or comment?
Yes. I see Sebastian's on, so he could possibly answer a couple questions here. On page 3, check number 61,628 for forecast analytics. What is that for?
Hi, Ron. That is the financial. Sorry, I'm not an expert in it. It's the financial software that you guys had discussed in the past that had been purchased through, I believe it was Esser's funds.
Well, my question is, how comes Esser's funds is used for that? I don't think
he
That's
won't be able
coming
to
out of the
answer
tech
that.
budget, but that's really not my
Yeah,
area of
that's
expertise. I know that you guys had discussed
right.
that in previous meetings, though.
All right, then I would like to have check number 61,627, 61,628, and 61,739 removed from the list till I get some answers.
So we have a request to separate 3 items. Motion to separate 3 items. Do we have a second on that? Separation motion dies.
Hang on a minute, Dave.
Okay,
I'd
go
like
ahead,
to
go.
explain. I'd like to explain to people why I want to do this. Maybe it will change somebody's mind. The 61,627, is there any board member that knows what that service, Employee Services LLC, does for our employees? You already heard my concerns with 61,628, and my concern for 61,739. The board approved a new system for the buses, and we was told that it would be a certain amount of money. I don't know if the rest of the board realizes this, but ever since we bought that system, we have been tasked with approving more money for that to support that system. And this last one, 61,739, it appears to me like it's going to be a yearly cost. These costs were not told to us. These extra costs were not told to us when we okayed that system for the buses. And that's why I'd like to get some answers before we approve those payments. So I'm going to make that motion again, Dave, and see if there's anybody who will second it.
It already died. It already died. So you can vote no on the whole package if you'd like. So are there any other questions? Okay. I'll do a roll call vote here then. Dr. Mathers,
Yes.
Mr. Almer,
Yes.
Dr. Beery,
Yes.
Mr. Snell,
No.
Mrs. Marriott,
Yes.
Mr. Conkle,
Yes.
Mr. Ruffing,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
and Mr. Schimmel votes yes. Okay, and item D on that is a business report, which of course, nothing tonight, but the business manager is at a conference for business managers for a few days this week. I will move now to the superintendent's report, and this time then I'll ask for reports from the building principals, and I'll, based on the checkerboard I see before me, the Brady Bunch board I see before me, I'll start in the upper left and at least my upper left and go with Mr. Tormina. What do you have for us tonight?
Oh, I have a bunch. I have an update on AP scholars. We had 33 AP scholars this past school year. That's up from 28 the year before. We also gave 198 exams last school year. The year before that, we were at 226. So that was down a little bit, but it's still above our 10-year average of 184 tests. So even through starting hybrid and the short closing we had from January 11th on, we were in person, and it didn't have a major impact on our AP testing. So that was good to see. I have an update on our medical careers program. As you know, last year, Geisinger could not take us because of COVID, and our students in that program went through the Penn College EMT program. This year, I'm happy to report Geisinger has us back. The students are going to the medical center. They've also opened up some different departments to us. If you remember, the long-term goal of that program was to keep students in the area and hired by the medical systems in the area. And we're starting to realize that already in just 3 years. So just a reminder for everybody what this program is. It focuses on nursing as a career opportunity. They spend Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday here at the high school going through their regular schedule. And they have the medical careers class, which is a double period class every day. What makes it unique is on Wednesdays, they hop on a bus and they go to Geisinger and Danville for the whole day for their hands-on experience. They're employees of the health system. They're trained on their computer system. They're paid by Geisinger, and they have real-life patient interactions. And what they end up finding out is if this is something they really want to pursue as a career, in addition to all the great experience they're getting. It truly is a partnership. Geisinger has used this model now as the model for a partnership with high schools. This is what they would like to see happen with their other schools. We work to make changes. We work together to make those changes that are beneficial to both organizations. So simply the two goals of the program: kids are in it, they figure out if it is something they want to do. And we find that it's okay if they decide this isn't for me, because that's a lot cheaper than finding out at the collegiate level that this isn't for them. So, and we've had that happen. And that's an important part of this program, to have that happen. The second part is that they figure out that this is absolutely what they want to do. And they end up having a tremendous head start on their classmates at the collegiate level. And then they can end up being hired at Geisinger or UPMC, and they stay home. So it's a win-win. Parents get to keep their kids home in the area. And I don't think anybody would argue with that. And it helps the medical field in this area with the shortage of personnel. So back to where I started with this, we have a student from the first year that we introduced this. She decided nursing was definitely for her, and her clinicals were at Geisinger in Danville. So she was already familiar with everything. She knew the hospital, the layout, she knew the computer systems, and she's actually been hired at the new Geisinger that's going to open up here in Pennsdale. So we are already keeping our kids home and staffing our local hospitals. It's one example, I know, but we look forward to more of that in the years to come. I didn't expect it to happen this quickly. She's actually going to come in, I think it's this week, to start promoting the program for next year and try to build those numbers up. So that was some good news here lately. And then third thing I have here Zach already started mentioning the band thing. My phone started dinging with tons of messages Saturday night. And usually on a Saturday night, what that means is the world of Facebook is lighting up with shouts of joy, and I get screenshots sent to me. But this was different. It was employees, family, friends. They were texting me about our marching band. They were at the Lycoming County Band Directors Association Band Festival held at Williamsport Area High School. And anybody that has seen our band knows our band. It is the largest in the area. They dance, they are fun, they sound great. It's just an awesome show annually. Mr. Wright and his staff are incredible year in and year out with this group. And to add a little validation, they had judges at that festival, and we received ratings of gold in every category, bringing in the highest score of all bands competing in festival class. So congratulations to the Warrior Marching Band for their efforts. It's a great show. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to get out to a game and see them perform. I also sent the board an email of the script for Homecoming that I had to read. If you were there at Homecoming, you know it took about 9 minutes to get through everything. The reason being the amount of clubs and activities that the court is involved in. It is good to see that we are completely back in terms of participation in our clubs and activities. These are so important as a part of our school, and being back in person and maintaining these opportunities that allows the participation that we see. So it was really good to see that we're back and open. It feels very normal around here. Kids are back to participating. Our clubs and activities are fully running. There isn't a thing shut down right now in our building. As you heard, the fall play is going to take place as well. So we got to tackle, as we start moving indoors, we got to tackle some of those concerns. We're not looking at any capacity issues. It's just the big issue that everybody loves to talk about. I'm not going to mention the M word. And finally, hopefully you did make it to Homecoming. Again, it amazes me the amount of participation we have overall at the high school. I want to publicly thank Mr. DeLong for his efforts around Homecoming, from the theme days to the parade, to all of the various events around the school, culminating with the dance on Sunday, yes, Sunday night, under the tents outside. I really want to thank him for everything that he did with Homecoming. He explained to me that he loves that it is the one event that anyone who wants to be involved can be involved. And we had over 400 students, that's 2/3 of our school, in the stadium Friday night, be it participating on the field, in the stands with the band, on the track as the cheerleaders, or our student section. So that doesn't just happen everywhere and anywhere. That is an effort by the staff here and our kids really believing in what we're doing for them. So it was really good to see. And at the dance, we had over 350 kids there. They had fun. They danced the whole night, except when the DJ slowed it down. So dads, you'll be happy. They scurried off the dance floor. We didn't have too much close, slow dancing at the Homecoming dance. And yeah, and it was great to see the community come out and support us at the parade. Just another example of the opportunities we have here for students. And then finally, this time, I invite the board out to Ag Day on October 14th at Mr. Hepburn's farm. If you need details on how to get there in times, please reach out or reach out to Mr. Ruffing. I know he's a big supporter of that day and can give you some details as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Termina. Mr. Myers.
Good evening, everyone. Tomorrow evening, we have Builders Club induction here at 7 o'clock. It's great to be in person for that. Big congratulations to our Chair of Communications for the Builders Club, Adam Shearer. Secretary is Kenna Bennett. Treasurer is Giovanni Catino. Vice President Carlos Tira, and President is Lillian McCullough. Student Council has been prepping our student body with activities, and we just had the activity in which the election results came in, and I'd like to present our president now, which is Grace Barkuskas, Vice President Leah Beischlein, Secretary Lindsay Garber, and Treasurer Marissa Whitmer. So congratulations to those students. The 27th, we have our first of a few choral concerts coming up, and that will be grades 5 through 8 here in the McCall Commons. We look forward to working with Penn College this year. They're planning an in-person science festival for our 5th graders. So we're looking and interested in participating in that. As everybody knows, October is Bullying Prevention Month. This Friday, all our staff and students are encouraged to wear blue to work in solidarity to stop bullying and cyberbullying. We have our annual poster contest going on, and our positive behavior intervention support plan is working wonderfully within the building. And our student council, our Builders Club, are working with our student body to work with bullying issues within the building. It's been a great start of the year, and we appreciate all your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Okay, Mr. Yonkin.
Good evening, everybody. Just a few things. I included quite a bit of this in my report to the board, but it's kind of hard to believe that I've only been out there with the staff for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years is when that's a compliment, as well as we all seem to be gelling together. It's really fun to watch those staff come together and work together. Kind of had a rough week last week with some staff out. It was really great to see the staff step up and step in and help out when we needed that extra support. So a huge shout out to all the staff out there at the Valley for being a great support to me as I'm getting started out there. We just wrapped up last week the Valley Garden that a bunch of the kids started with Dr. Breon last year and the staff out there. So we had our last harvest. That was fun to do, to see the kids get those crops and take some of those veggies home for their families at the end of the day. So it was good to see. Like Mr. Myers, our PBIS program is up and in full swing. We got kids earning tons of reports, points, and they're starting to earn some of those rewards. And we're starting to work on some big ticket items. Fortunately or unfortunately, one of those is going to involve me getting duct tape to the wall at the end of the month. But it seems to be a real motivation for the kids, and they seem to really be looking forward to that. Completed our walkathon last week. Huge shout out to Mr. Sillo. That was all new to me, and he came out and helped us run that event, come out of retirement for a day. So we really appreciated that support. It was fun to watch him work his magic. We raised over $5,600 that day to go into our PTO fund. So that's pretty awesome. Again, I guess I must just be a glutton for punishment, because that's going to result in me getting a couple pies in the face for some of the kids that earn the most money, but should be a fun day this Friday when we celebrate that. What else do we have? Like Dan, I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. DeLong. Arranged for homecoming week. He had the homecoming court come out and read to our students. It's amazing what a 15-20 minute session of reading to a kid does, especially when it's a senior in high school reading to those kids. They talked about it all day Friday, and some of them are still talking to me about it today after the long weekend, how cool that was and how much they enjoyed that. So again, a huge shout out to Mr. DeLong and the homecoming court for coming out and doing that with our kids. Very, very cool. Included a photo in my report. If you guys didn't get a chance to see it, stop out. Huge thanks to Mr. Ganoffo and his staff for the new shed out at the Valley. Very, very nice. Gives us a little bit more storage. Also gave us a opportunity to kind of clean house a little bit, get rid of some of the stuff that's been in there probably longer than I've been around. So that it was good to clean house a little bit. So I think what else? If you haven't drove by the Valley yet, drive by. Last Friday we had our pumpkin patch day. All the classrooms had a big wooden pumpkin that they each designed. Those pumpkins are up and visible now. You can't miss them when you drive by. It's really a pretty cool sight to see. And I guess I'd be remiss also if I didn't thank for a lot of those events we had going on, the walkathon, getting those pumpkins ready, and having our fall fun day. The PTO and the parents, volunteers that came in to help in the classrooms and help run the PTO, they're a huge support to us out there, and we greatly appreciate their support. So that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Mr. Farrar.
Yep, just to add along, again, another thanks to Mr. DeLong and the homecoming group as well. They came and read to the students at Leiter, and again, it was a great day and good role models and seeing many of my former students. So that was always good to see, but also lets me know that, boy, I've been doing this a long time when I see them all now, many of them seniors. So it's not a good feeling sometimes, but it is good to see how they've grown and the exciting things they're pursuing. Big thanks to the folks at the volunteers at Willingham Fire Company here in town for doing fire prevention activities with our students last week, and I know the students enjoyed that and the valuable lessons they learned, but also to get to see some of the volunteers of people in their own community that how they sacrifice to keep all of us safe and healthy and help us in our times of need. The kindergartners are off to a great start. They have just transitioned really well and, again, fit right into the school community, and they're having great days. It's good to see not only they, but all the students in kindergarten through fourth grade and the hard work they're doing every day and how they continue to grow and reach towards their goals. And just a big thank you to the staff, the teachers, the parents, but especially the students and the hard work they do. So again, off to a good start this year, and again, excited for what this year will bring for all of them. Looking forward to our walkathon event that's coming up this Friday as well for our school-wide fundraiser. And a big thank you for the PTO and those volunteers for the things they've organized, including last Friday at the homecoming night with the food truck event, if you had a chance to stop by. So off to a good start this year, many, many events to come, and looking forward to the great things ahead for our students at Leiter.
Thank you. And Mr. Hander, do you have anything for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. And good evening to everyone. I'm now starting my 4th week in the Montoursville Area School District, and I really appreciate the welcome that I've received, both from faculty and staff. I spent my first 2 weeks scheduling meetings with the principals so I could learn about our specific students and staff and the various building level needs. They were also very kind and took me around on a tour of each of the buildings and was able to show me exactly where our special education teachers' classrooms are. So during classroom visits, I'm able to find them and able to connect with them as well. On October 11th, I was able to meet with the special education staff and shared with them my entry plan. During the first year, I'm really going to be working with the teachers closely to learn the Montoursville way of doing things. As I've worked in various districts now, each and every district they do things in a little bit of a different way. So my intention is to learn from them how we do things here. Since the beginning, also at the beginning of the school year, we have had actually 25 identified students move into our school district. We are required to provide these students with the same level of service that they received in their previous school district. So at this time, we spend a lot of time sitting down with meetings with the parents as well as the teachers to look over the previous paperwork and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to provide that special education for those students moving into our district. For any of the out-of-state students, this process also involves a school psychologist getting involved, and she will be evaluating each of the students to determine their eligibility for special education services within the state of Pennsylvania. We've also had 17 early intervention students transition into school age services this school year. So we are wrapping up all of our meetings for those students as well. So when looking at that, we've had 42 students that are new to our district and have been trying to do what we can to meet each of their individual needs. This is an increase in numbers for past years and has been really neat seeing how the students are doing as they come into our district new. Also, we've had 5 full days of IEP meetings that have been scheduled so far this year. And that's really given me an opportunity to take a look at our IEP paperwork, which I will say that I really believe that in Montoursville, we have really great and very detailed IEPs that are written by our special education staff. And I just really appreciate the hard work that they put into that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Adolfo, you have anything for us tonight?
No, sir. Thank you for asking.
Well, I know we owe you a conversation about a roof, and that is not very far in the future. We will have that conversation about that roof replacement. So
great. Thank you.
All right. With that, then, Sebastian, do you have anything for us?
No, I mean, we're off to a great start. All of our students have devices, and I think it's been a great year so far. So I'm hoping that we continue that.
Thank you. All right, with that, now we'll move into the agenda items. And okay, all right, we have item G1 is the approval of that concurrent representation of the school district. And you see the verbiage in the agenda item. Unless you want me to read it all out for you. I'll entertain a motion to approve that concurrent representation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions on that? Okay, hearing no questions, then all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Item G2, approval to contract Conrad Siegel for a mandatory Affordable Care Act reporting at a cost of $6,800, same as 2020. And we have a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Any questions on that? In that case, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Item G3, approval of the PSBA officers. Now you notice in the president-elect, there's 2 names, and in the for what it's worth category, the CTC selected Mr. Schapp only because he seemed to have more, career and technology emphasis. So that was sort of a selfish decision, if you will. I don't know much about either of the folks. So on that first item, what's your preference for a name? Does anybody have any information on either of those names? And does the CTC self-interest entice you into going with Mr. Schapp?
I'll make a motion from David Schapp.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Dave, if I might add,
Abstain.
with Dottie as our PSBA rep, I'm going to go with her recommendations.
Okay, all right. So we have the slate of officers. Now that we've picked Mr. Schapp, shall we vote on that slate of officers?
Did you get my abstain?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ron. Oh, okay. Abstention from Ron. Okay. All right. So for the slate of officers, do we have a motion to approve that slate of officers?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Abstain.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to G4, approval to accept a check in the amount of $14,300 from the Montoursville Area Education Foundation for the purposes of auditorium lighting. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve.
Move. Second.
Questions?
Yes,
I just-
is this lighting for the Black Box Theater?
Correct, yeah. And it'll just go into a fund for a while until the full lighting complement can be accomplished.
Right, can we get an amount on how much is in the fund currently?
We can, I just don't know what that is. We can get that. So when Brandy takes the minutes here, Brandy, we're asking for an amount that's in that fund, so.
Thank you.
I just want to thank the foundation for their donation. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Please pass along thanks, Dale.
Yes, this actually is EITC money, earned income tax credit money from the Woodlands Bank. They've have money in the foundation that's really just waiting for a program to be identified that they can use the funds for. And Dan basically wrote the grant for this one. And I do know there's, I think, around 11,000 yet with the foundation waiting for a home. So once a need is identified, it just takes well, a little time investment on the part of our grant writers, but there is some additional funding available.
Okay. All right,
Just
with all that
a
then.
point of
Go ahead.
clarification. This money will be spent. It's not going to sit in a fund because it's EITC. It had to
Oh.
be spent prior to
Yeah.
September 30th. So this will purchase, we're going to have to do it piecemeal and purchase lights
Okay.
as we go. So there's another, as Dale said, another approximately 11,000 sitting there. It expires next year at the end of September that must be spent as well. So we will actually have product here and piece it together as we go.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, Dan. When I was talking to the superintendent today, she thought perhaps it was going to go into fund, but she wasn't 100% sure either. So, all right, good. We're going to put it to use. That's good. All right, so all in favor of accepting that, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, G5, approval of use of the facilities from Joseph Simcoe of Faith United Methodist for the parking lot on the 31st for their trunk or treat.
Retreat. Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of an agreement between Montoursville Area School District and the Bloomsburg University Nursing Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of, for the Montoursville area high school mock trial students to have an overnight trip to Cambridge at Harvard University for a workshop, the 14th to 18th, no cost to the district. And this is a trip I believe that got canceled last year, I think. Anyway, so motion to approve that.
Move to
Move to
approve.
approve.
Second? We had a bunch of
Second.
firsts. Is there? Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Opposed? Ayes have it. And item G8, approval of the Montoursville Area High School Ski Club to overnight trip to Killington, Vermont on the February 25th to 22nd. No cost to the district on this. It's their funds. And I think this is another trip that got canceled last year as well.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And moving on to personnel on P1, we have the additions to the coaching staff for 2021-2022. Matthew Bolt wrestling, replacing Chris Molino at a stipend of $2,600. and Robert Lebach, girls basketball volunteer coach.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. B2, approval of the following additions to the substitute list for 2021-22 school year. Cheyenne Hogue in the paraprofession as a paraprofessional substitute, and Quincy Waldron as a substitute healthcare aide.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. P3, approval to establish the position of Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Communication, as well as the job description that's was attached.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion, questions?
Yes. First of all, I want to say that, make it clear that I am not opposed to a curriculum coordinator. I think the district needs a curriculum coordinator now. What I am opposed to is an assistant superintendent. When this superintendent that we currently have was hired, the enrollment in our district was 2,045 students. It is currently this year an enrollment of 1,841 students. That's a 204 less students this year than we had the year that our superintendent was hired. I think our superintendent did a good job on her first contract, but now since she got a second contract, all of a sudden she feels she needs help. We have less students. We're coming into a time where and I say it every year, but this year I'm stressing it even more. We're coming into a time where we need to watch expenditures even more so. First of all, this motion doesn't even have a price tag on it. We need to know what that position, the cost of that position is going to be. Secondly, we're coming into a time, and if you drive a car, if you have heating oil in your houses, you know, or natural gas, you know how the costs are increasing. Natural gas is now currently twice as much as it was last year. Gas prices have gone up close to $1.50 from last year. Heating oil, I just found out today that there's some people charging $3 a gallon for heating oil. It's going to continue to rise. We have used heating oil at the Valley. We use natural gas at our other schools. When those costs go up, so's electric. We have to watch what we're spending. And we have, like I said, less students, but now all of a sudden we need an assistant superintendent. I don't think so. That's all, Dave.
My rationale isn't exactly the same as Ron's. I've heard so many different opinions about what the job description should involve. So I think we're about 60% there on the job description, but I don't think we quite have all the pieces of that in an ideal place. And I guess I'm not convinced we need such a high level position, or if we can accomplish the objectives of the job description potentially with a lower level position.
One other thing to add to Sue's comment there. If you put the job description side by side with the current description for the superintendent, the amount of responsibilities taken away from her and putting on an assistant is ridiculous.
What responsibilities are taken away from the superintendent, Ron?
Well, for one, communicating back with the community.
Well, that's all to assist,
That's a
not
big one.
taking it away.
And communicating with staff, back with staff.
But it's not taking it away from the superintendent. It's just giving that person some responsibility along with the superintendent. Because I think we get, and I'll try to find out what the exact number is, but from what in my thought, it was not much more than a curriculum director. So we all agree we need a curriculum director. We're getting more bang for our buck if we can hire somebody and add responsibilities to that job description. It just gives you a little bit more a lot more flexibility to cover some areas that need covered and some new areas. And we've seen what COVID has done to the administrators' responsibilities. That's just amazing. And the teachers, the responsibilities have just increased tremendously. So I just think we get more bang for our buck.
Well, I don't believe
that's my opinion.
Yes, correct. But I don't believe that we should, in order to get our bang for our buck out of a curriculum coordinator, I don't think we should have adding an assistant superintendent on top of that job. I think we need to, let's face it, we've been without a curriculum coordinator for approximately 4 years. So that curricular coordinator is going to have his or her hands full, and to put other duties on top of that, we're not getting our bang for our buck, as you state.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, Ron. And I'm going to disagree with Sue, who said that we're 60% there, 80% there. And I don't mean disagree with Sue. Another viewpoint. I have read the job description. I do know I have an idea of what it costs to have a curriculum director. And we have all seen the entire job description. We've also been given an idea of what it will cost. We know what our last curriculum director was making when he left in 2017. We have had it explained to us that this will be 80% curriculum, 20% assistant superintendent. I do believe that we are getting the bang for the buck, as Dottie said. Also, Dottie said something that I fully agree with, and I think everybody has to recognize this. What the administration, particularly the superintendent, is tasked with now, as opposed to 2 years before COVID. Most people have no clue all the additional work that has been dumped on the superintendent, the building principals, and even the teachers, but mainly the superintendent. And I have had people come up to me and say, well, you don't need an assistant superintendent. So I said, why not? And they said, well, because the superintendent's not doing her job. And I said, well, explain to me what she's not doing. Explain to me, give me her job description. Tell me what she's not doing. Well, they can't. So as far as somebody to say, oh, well, she's just not doing her job, I could get that answer from a third grader. Okay. So if it's your opinion, that's fine. Make it clear that it's your opinion, but don't try to state as fact that the superintendent could not use an assistant, or the superintendent is not doing her job. If it's a fact and you know it, then you obviously have spent a day with the superintendent, or you can tell me what a typical day is like for a superintendent, or you have at one time been a superintendent. Otherwise, it's just your opinion, and we all have one. So I do see the position as being worthy. I do see it as just not a huge increase in money as to what a curriculum director will cost. Ron, I fully agree with you that yes, we absolutely do need a curriculum director. You know, it's just, that's where I stand on this. You know, if you say, well, the superintendent's not doing her job, tell me how you know that. And nobody can. It's just an opinion. It's something they say. They say, well, we don't need the added cost. No, we don't. We don't need the added cost of right to knows that run into 5 figures either, that serve no purpose, that nobody gets any benefit from. We don't have any, you know, we don't get any benefit from a federal lawsuit that we will tie up money now, taxpayer money. Okay, but I don't hear anybody complaining about that. I just hear the assistant superintendent. So if you want to complain about some costs, let's also look at them. Let's, you know, figure everything into this. Okay, but at least we get something for this, for the service. And I think it's a valuable service. Thanks.
Bill, I don't see anywhere here in the description, the job description, where it says it's 80% curriculum and 20% other duties.
I asked that question of Christina, Ron. I don't know that I don't believe it is in there. I asked that question.
Well, and you don't want to specify that in any job description. You have to have flexibility in a job description. You know, jobs ebb and flow. My job changes every day. Some days I'm doing one thing more than another. And every manager will tell you the same thing, that your job ebbs and flows. As far as the superintendent goes, Bill, you're right. It's opinions. Everybody has opinions, but we know for a fact that the board evaluated the superintendent, and the superintendent received a better than satisfactory rating from the board at the end of June. So that is, you know, 9 board members making an assessment. So if it were not that, things would have changed, but it is not that. The superintendent, again, received more than satisfactory assessment. So we need to, you know, just stop saying things like she's not doing her job, because unless there's 9 of us that are wrong, no, she's doing her job. All right. I have a little verbiage change though, and one of the comments we received was well put, and that is the very last statement. This job description is subject to change as determined by the superintendent. That actually isn't what's said there. Isn't what was intended or perceived, and it does look a little bit, huh? I thought the board makes this job description. Here's better wording. And if I could propose this. And I talked to the superintendent today about this, I propose this job description is not to be determined as comprehensive as other duties may be assigned or determined by the superintendent of schools. In other words, the superintendent, you know, when you're a manager, other duties as assigned. So, and that's the intent, is that if there are other things that are needed, the superintendent will request the assistant superintendent take on a certain task, a certain project, or whatever it might be. And that's perfectly acceptable and understandable. It happens all the time in the private sector, and it would happen here as well. So it's an other duties as assigned. So board, do you want me to read that again, or you okay with that verbiage? I'll read it again. This job description is not to be determined as comprehensive as other duties may be assigned as determined by the superintendent.
Do I need to amend my motion for that, Dave? To accept it with that addendum or change?
A
Yeah, that's
friendly
good.
amendment.
Yeah.
You can make what's called a friendly amendment, and if the maker of the motion is okay with that, then it will suffice. If not, then you can make a motion to amend.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Board additional discussion on this.
Dave, this is Scott.
Yes.
I support definitely need a curriculum director. I will not support an assistant superintendent position.
Okay, hearing no more discussion, then we'll have a vote now for all in favor of creating this. And one more thing, that the wage will be determined when the bid goes out for the job and the hiring is done You wouldn't put a salary in a job description. You wouldn't do that. That's just not what you do. So anyway, so all in favor of creating.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Sure. All in favor of creating assistant superintendent responsible for curriculum and communications for the Montoursville Area School District. And I'll go across the checkerboard here. Mr. Ruffing?
Yes.
Mr. Snell?
No.
Mr. Albert?
No.
Mr. Conkle?
No.
Dr. Beery? Dr. Beery?
Oh, sorry, no.
Mr. Almer?
Yes.
Dr. Mathers?
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And what did we tally there? 5-4?
5-4.
5-4 in favor or against?
Favor.
Favor, thank you. Thank you. 5-4 in favor. All right.
Hey, Dave, can I mention one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's not forget that ultimately this job will, in this position for the new hire will either be approved or not approved. Okay. This is putting it out there. Absolutely, no one's been hired and they will need board approval.
Got it. True. All right. Moving on to P4, approval of the following additions to the guest teacher substitute list. We have Michael Board, Eric Fraley, Gerald Hamaker, and Jesse Rocco.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. P5, approval of the following additions to the extracurricular activity positions. And there's a list of them there and who they're replacing. And this is a year-to-year thing, and we have some replacements. So there is one new position being proposed, though, for the high school drama production stage manager. So do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And moving on to
Could I ask one question there, Dave?
Yeah.
On the production stage manager. Didn't we always have a production stage manager? Or is this, maybe Dan could answer this.
Yeah, it's new, so.
There's a pot of money that totals what you see there. What are 1,300, 1,400, 1,590. And the new director just split up that 1,590 in different ways. So although it's a new position, it's nothing added to the budget.
Okay, because I was under the impression we always had a set designer.
We did. She kept some of the same positions. It changes every time we get a new director. We have different ideas.
Okay, thank you.
It's the arts, so it comes with different ideas with new people.
Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to transportation, T1, approval of the Promised Land busing rates in the amount of $24.93.93 and $27.12.55 for September 2021.
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. T2, approval of an addition to the school bus driver list, Jonathan Katzmeyer to Kozer Busing.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Moving on to the policies, PY-1 is the first reading of a policy 218.3 for bullying and cyberbullying. And I just would make a note on the page 1, just to highlight, there's a checkbox for bullying which occurs in a school setting and or outside a school setting. I think we'll want to discuss that box. So that being the case, I'll entertain a motion to approve this. And then we definitely want some discussion, at least I do. So motion to
Move
approve.
to approve.
Second.
Okay, that particular box, the recommendation is not to have that checked. We can't take upon ourselves to police bullying outside our district, boundaries, properties, activities, things like that. That's probably just well, you can select different items on these, I don't say canned policies you get from Psba, but these policies you receive, there's boxes you can check to accept certain things and not, and that's checked. And we don't want that responsibility for outside a school setting. That's other people's issues.
But
Dave,
Dave,
I think,
yeah,
David,
Yes.
I would like to offer you another viewpoint, just
yeah.
a broader viewpoint. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're responsible for bullying that occurs outside of the parameters of the school and the school district premises, et cetera. It also can be part and parcel of it's identifying actions that are considered bullying by the school district. And bullying can, as you all know, bullying can occur in school, but it can also end up occurring in the community with the same two students, for instance, just outside the purview. And that you would want that to be evidence of bullying that you would then utilize in solving the bullying, which is your responsibility, rather than necessarily meaning you have to go and investigate what's going on out in the community. It just indicates that to a person who is bullying, they're being made aware that bullying could also be their conduct outside of school grounds, depending on how it relates to the school district. For instance, two students who go to your school are clearly a school issue. If that child is being bullied at school, that's clearly evidence of bullying. If that child is then bullied in the community outside of the school, that would be a continuation of that, or most likely a continuation of the bullying that occurred in school. Either it's resulting from the bullying in school or it's resulting in the bullying occurring in school. So either it starts outside and comes into the school, or it's inside the school and goes outside the school. In either event, you would want to utilize that information as part of prosecuting a bullying case. For instance, you would also want people who are being bullied or bullying to know that they have an avenue of redress if it relates to your school. Now, if it's two people outside of school that have nothing to do with your school, you're not expected to police what goes on in the community, but you can and should be aware of and utilize those instances that do occur outside your school district. And I just wanted to give you a viewpoint of how I read that. I'm not necessarily giving you legal advice. I'm just saying that's a broader review of that language than how you presented it just now.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Actually, that isn't what I thought. And I get that. Yes.
And I'm not suggesting you check the box necessarily. I'm just saying you should at least consider that as a possible way of looking at that language.
Well, if two kids are walking home and there's a third kid who's on the other side of the street and they're 3 blocks away from the school, and we know there was some activity in school, and 3 blocks from school they start hassling that kid. Yeah, that's something we need to know about. So yeah, I get it.
Right, especially you're looking in the definition, I think it says persistent. So you'd want those additional instances to count. And especially when you add cyberbullying, I mean, you could be on Instagram or Facebook at midnight in your house, writing nasty things about another student, it doesn't just need to be done on the school computer, but you would want that to count with the cyberbullying. Yeah, so my understanding is that the Bureau of Safe Schools and PDE revised the bully policy, and that was one thing that I have highlighted as being something that was added because I think it occurred to them, especially with cyberbullying, that you do want to, like Richard said, include that evidence of things that are occurring outside of the school setting, including.
Okay, I get that context. I appreciate that. That makes perfect sense to me.
Okay, one question I have for you, Sue. The highlighted area where it says when a student's behavior indicates a threat to the safety of the student, is that the only thing that's been added into this?
Well,
It's on.
yeah, I see it.
Do you see it? Okay.
Yes, no, I believe the list I have, I mean, Christina gave me this list with the highlighting parts being the new parts. Now I have the old one here.
Yes, and see, that's the only thing I have highlighted.
What page are you on, Ron?
The back of the first page.
I think it must be the second one. My pages aren't numbered.
Right.
At the top, it says bullying. And then it has, as defined in this policy, includes cyberbullying.
Okay.
And the second thing, it says school settings. And
I
I'm
got it.
guessing, are those two now the whole thing isn't highlighted, but those two highlighting, are they new? And down where it has when a student's behavior indicates a threat to the safety of the students, that sentence, is that's highlighted, that definitely must be new there, correct?
Right now, and you know what, I have two hard copies, and so I didn't look at the electronic copy on the agenda. The Title IX sexual harassment and other discrimination, the confidentiality and retaliation, is that on your copy, Ron?
Where's it at? So
It's right under that paragraph you just read.
oh yeah, sexual harassment and other discrimination, that's not highlighted.
Okay, on my hard copy that Christina gave me, those are highlighted, and I have the old policy, so I think those are new. They don't appear to be in the old copy of the policy.
All right, and I just want to piggyback on what you said, Sue, and what the solicitor said on that box for the X. There could be harassment or bullying done outside the school that affects a student in the school when they're, say, in the same class and they get bullied outside of school, it affects them in the school. So I'm all for that X.
Me too.
Right, and I guess you have on the right after the definition, it says school setting means in the school, school grounds, school vehicles, bus stop, or activity sponsored. But again, I think you still want outside the school setting to include other situations that aren't in that definition of within the school setting.
Absolutely.
And I had read that as interpreted as some, I'll call it for lack of a better description, some random event in which two of our students are somewhere and they're hassling somebody or whatever, and it wasn't a school issue, it just was some random. I was thinking, oh, we but I get what, I appreciate the context that the solicitor provided, and I'm in favor of it too, now that I understand the intent of it. That's, yeah, I'm on board.
And David, it might very well be that such an action that occurs outside of school is not related to the school and has no relation to the school, and therefore the school would not be able to and would not be responsible for addressing it. I mean, it would depend on circumstances.
Either way, yeah.
Yeah, Okay.
If they bring it to the school, that's what matters.
Okay, board, any additional questions about it? Are we ready for this? Is a first reading. We have another, well, perhaps another month to peruse this some more. So there's no more.
Right, and I guess, why I suggested first reading was, I think this is everything that needs to be in there. And I guess, can we write our policy to be more inclusive than what's, you know what I mean? So this is, in my mind, this is the bare minimum that needs to be in there. And I don't know if we want to discuss anything else or if we're happy with the way this
And
looks.
extend the offer, Sue, to have a committee meeting for this particular policy if you like. That's always an option. So, okay, board, I think let's move ahead with a vote on then approving this first reading. And we'll do some more, put some more effort and thought into this. So all in favor of this first reading, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And that gets us through the agenda, and I lost my page one. Are we on to subcommittee or the committee reports, Dr. Mathers?
Okay, first for PSBA, just a reminder that the Advocacy Day will be virtual, and that is going to be on Thursday, on October 14th. If anyone is interested in attending that day. That's all I have for PSBA at this point. Since we talked about cyberbullying, do you have any other policies? You're muted, sorry.
No, there was, no, I guess, final approval of, that new revision of the Sunshine Act policy, I guess I would anticipate would be on the agenda for the November meeting. I just had some questions and we were running some things by people.
Okay. Mr. Ruffing, IU report.
Let me get unmuted. I have nothing tonight, Dottie.
Thank you. LCTC.
The JOC, the Joint Operating Committee, interviewed candidates for the executive director position last week, and we will meet on the 21st to approve a new executive director.
Interesting. Mr. Conkle, anything on Memorial Gardens?
They did meet. I was unable, with some family commitments, I was unable to make it. So I will, hopefully November we'll have some type of, we'll have a cleanup date. I just don't have that as of yet for leaf cleanup.
I drove down Broad Street the other day and it looks beautiful with the trees changing colors.
It does. Hopefully we'll get some improvements made by next year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Almer, budget.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Albert, buildings and grounds.
I have nothing.
And Mr. Almer, Montoursville Foundation, anything more than that donation, that wonderful donation we got?
Yes, I have something to report.
Good.
I'm not going to highlight anymore, but yeah, there is additional funding available, but the foundation did partner with the FFA group with Mr. Tucker at the Fall Festival. I have no report on how much, if any, additional funds we were able to generate through our sale of roasted peanuts. I hope some of you were there, maybe bought a bag. I do know the FFA did very well in their enterprise, and we're looking forward to partnering again with them next year. I would like to mention that in April of 2022, the foundation is planning a larger event. I think kind of a major fundraiser. It'll be out at Herman and Luther's again, and I think it'll be around a barbecue theme is what they're talking about now. And that is all.
I'll look forward to that. Mr. Conkle, anything extracurricular?
I have nothing. Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Schimmel.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we'll open up for the public comment section. Pardon me, the second round. So we'll open up the window, and again, residents and taxpayers, we have 3 minutes per person, an unpaused 3-minute period to discuss any of the items related to the district. So
Hello.
okay, go ahead, Tanya.
Yes, Tanya Schaefer. I am on South Montour Street in the borough. I just wanted to thank the board for the first reading of the proposed bullying policy. As a parent of a child that doesn't always fit the norms of other children, this is a issue that's especially close to me. And I would encourage the board to do research on the pervasiveness of bullying in kids, especially when it starts in young children, and really take that into consideration as they're developing these policies and make them beneficial to all students. But as administration and everyone can attest, having the policy is only half the battle. The policies need to be equally enforced, and the kids need to know that there is zero tolerance. Unfortunately, with the world that we live in now, our children are inundated with technology, and where bullying used to stop at school or on the school bus, it follows them home now. And I just hope that as the board is developing these plans, that they will take those kind of issues into consideration, and that they will take a firm stance on bullying in our district. There is no room for bullying of any child in our district. And I do appreciate Sue's information on those policies and her work on that. And I do appreciate her referral that this should just be a baseline. This shouldn't be our entire policy. We really need to go above and beyond to protect our kids that are susceptible to this. Bullying is pervasive. It leaks into every aspect of our children's lives when they're bullied at school or anywhere. So I really do hope that for those kids, they know that their administration and their parents and their community backs them on these issues. I've heard reports, and I don't know the 100% truth of those reports because it didn't happen to me, where their child was bullied and it wasn't really addressed at the school, or it was, you know, kind of swept aside. I hope that that is not happening. I fear that maybe in some instances it is, but I hope that with a new policy in place, the board will make sure that it is being addressed and that every step is being taken to protect our kids when they're with you. I know as a parent, I monitor my children's electronics. You know, that's my job as a parent, is to make sure that it's not inundating my home. But when we're there with you, we're trusting you guys to do that. And so I really do hope that you guys will take that into consideration when making your policies. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, Danicello, Weldon Street, Montoursville. I just want to start off with the communication structure that I wanted to bring up earlier. I'm going to rip through a bunch of things here. So first of all, teachers, regular communication about classroom activities and upcoming skills students will be learning, syllabus provided at the beginning of the year. That'll be a little bit different based on elementary to middle school to high school. Syllabi changed and the in-depthness of them. Principals, monthly newsletter about building level activities, sports, important news related to building, classroom, highlights of great teachings happening within the building. Superintendent can also attach a monthly paragraph, synopsis, whatever they want to attach to this monthly newsletter. This newsletter does not only have to be paper, but there is a website, smore.com, is an educational newsletter website that makes communication super easy, okay? Curriculum supervisor, which now we know it's not really gonna be that at the moment, it's gonna have other attachments to it, but I'm gonna continue with this. Communicates to community monthly or quarterly about initiatives, curricular alignment, overall student performance based on benchmarking of skills, update about federal grants that have been applied for. That's part of the wrapping in that I wanted to see with this curriculum supervisor position. Superintendent quarterly newsletter can be done through SMORE, can be done through paper, both, combo, whatever suits the district's needs. About district-wide initiatives, more of a bird's eye view of what is going on in the school district. In addition to that, I heard Dale earlier thank grant writers for getting things written and whatnot. This is one area where that job description would be able to help to look at and to look at this. Busing was brought up. Now, busing issues, I would love to see the cost analysis done on how much it would cost to bring busing back in, or to bring it into Montoursville School District, where Montoursville School District ran it, upfront costs, and how many years it would take to get a return on the initial investment. Thank you, Mr. Tanner, and I hope that the school board provides you and your staff all resources needed to help students with special needs to make adequate yearly growth. I have been a special education teacher for 20 years, and I know the challenges that lie ahead and that have been faced in the past. Ron, thank you for bringing up energy concerns and the information about the assistant for superintendent. I would also like to know about goals set forth for superintendent. Are these things public record? Is the superintendent's evaluation public record? Last thing I want to, well, I mean, there's several things, but the last thing, if I could just have 15 seconds, is about the bullying policy. There is zero tolerance for bullying anywhere. Being in the field for, teaching for 20 years, in middle school for 17 of those, there's zero tolerance for bullying. If it is occurring, the school board needs to do everything in their power to support administrators to help bring these situations to a conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Jenna Girardi. I live on 179 Oldsmet Road, Montoursville, PA. I just want to say a few things. One, this Geisinger program where students can go to Geisinger every Wednesday, all day, would be an awesome program. I understand the concept of it, teaching them before they go into it. But you guys do have our children masked right now due to this pandemic. So I don't see how you're sending kids into a hospital that has COVID because they have COVID patients, and then that kid's supposed to return to school. It doesn't seem like a smart idea to do this program during this pandemic, especially since Montoursville's, I don't know, really grasping onto it's like really fearful. We gotta wear masks, we gotta be safe. But then we're sending kids to like the whole COVID ground zero area. It doesn't make sense to me. I feel like it's kind of going against the whole protecting the kids from getting COVID, if that's what your guys' stance is. Secondly, I want to say about the mask. My son is in speech. When he goes to speech class, they wear those clear visors so they can see the teacher's lips, so they can learn to pronounce words. When he's in the classroom, his teacher wears a cloth mask. So when he does his spelling test on Fridays, he can't see the teacher's lips move, which is what they teach him in speech. So his spelling grades are poor, which on Thursday we do a practice round, he gets them all right. But then Friday he takes that test and he does terrible. So like masks do hinder education for some students. Another thing I want to bring up is this assistant superintendent. I did look at other school districts in the area, how many students they have, if they do have an assistant superintendent for that amount of students. Mr. Snell informed us that it's about 1,400 students. That's less than I thought we had. Around that many amount of students, most schools only have one superintendent. You guys keep pushing for the assistant, saying she has so much more work because of COVID and we don't understand it. Well, then why don't you guys put something out that shows us her responsibilities and this mass load that she has to handle? Because other schools with that many students are handling it just fine, but she's not. And if she wants a super assistant so bad, then why don't you take some of her pay and pay it towards that instead of having the taxpayers pay it? Because we don't feel we need it. We feel we need the curriculum director. That's what it should be focused on. We haven't had one for 4 years. They need to catch up. They need to focus on that, not on what she needs to be doing. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, it's counting down from 5, 3, 2, 1. So the 3 minutes didn't start.
Yeah, no, you're okay. You're okay. Actually, if you could pause just for a moment.
Yep.
Board, we're at 9:10, so we're at 2 hours. I'll entertain a motion to extend the meeting.
Motion to extend.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Okay, we're extended. Go ahead.
Okay, so Mr. Ruffing, I'm not sure that you are legally allowed to discourage the public not to file right to knows. If you can, in my opinion, waste our money on a new assistant superintendent, then please refrain from telling me what I can and cannot file to obtain your information. Since I did file a right to know for your information, I'm concerned you're attempting to intimidate me with your negative comments about right to knows. Many people are complaining that they cannot raise their hands during these Zoom meetings or that their hands are not being acknowledged. They're very upset that they can't participate in the meeting the way that you guys have explained that they could, and you've said that they're awesome and that, you know, we should just stay in them and be thankful for them. Well, that's not the case, and the public needs to be heard, and they're not being heard the way they could in a public meeting. So we wish you would fix that. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, and just so everyone knows, I watch and the host or the technical host, we watch the attendee window, and every hand that's raised, you know, it gets clicked on, And if some hands aren't showing up, I just don't know what to say. I can't explain it. So anyway, that's, we're doing what we can. And I don't see hands disappearing. I don't know what to say. All right, so with that, the public comment section now is closed, and board, any questions or any, before we entertain a motion?
I know what to say, Dave. Go back to in-person meetings. And if you want to have it Zoom, in person with Zoom meetings, that would solve the problem. That would solve the technical glitches. And to be honest with you, there's times where during a board meeting, I lose internet reception, and you've seen it before where I've been knocked off the Zoom meeting, and it takes 5 minutes or so for me to get back on.
I understand. The reason, there's only one reason that I switched us to Zoom, because we were not going to get mass compliance. We were not going to. Let's not kid ourselves. We were not going to get mass compliance indoors, and we know the mask order says you have to do it. That's why I changed it. The technical thing you're talking about, Ron, it is achievable, probably somewhere between a $20,000 and $30,000 charge to actually get it right, to really get it right so it functions. So if that's something the board wants to pursue in the future, I maybe there's a grant for that. We probably could use ESSER funds for that. In fact, I bet we could. So,
well, other schools are having in-person school board meetings.
And I guess if the public is willing to mask, but if you have people there who aren't willing to mask, it just, then you've got, do you have officers making them leave? I mean, it's, so
Yeah.
I guess a big step is if the people are willing to follow the mask order, we can consider it, but.
I just read that Mifflinburg went virtual, and they're allowing people that can't get online to email comments prior to the board meeting or questions, and then the president or somebody can read those during the comment section. So
I think
they
it's
want-
one school. I think it's one school in Lycoming County that is virtual. Well, besides us, everybody else is in person. And of them those ones that are in person, I think that there is some of them that have the Zoom also at the same time. And I've been
interactive
told,
Zoom, interactive, Ron?
Yeah. Yes, and I've been told that, Dave, that that the county, the cost for the county to do that was only a couple $1,000s.
Well, they must have had technology available at the time. I mean, but we're going to be using a big auditorium, and I just, yeah. Well, again,
I mean,
it's,
I hate to be I hate to bring it up, but you didn't seem to mind spending the money on a new superintendent, an assistant superintendent.
Nope, that was for education.
This would be something that would benefit the community.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
Okay. Well, that's a discussion. Go ahead, Scott.
I just want to bounce back to what Mr. T said about the band performance at the Williamsport High School. Well, I was present for that, and nobody got the crowd excited like Montoursville.
Thanks, Scott. That's a good note to end on. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
To adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay, none. All right. The meeting is adjourned at 9:16. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Hey, Richard.
All right.